I'd like to go over a certain class of consonants known as Begadkephat letters. Begadkephat letters. Now, the Begadkephat letters include Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Pei, and Tav. Just these six. Now, what makes a Begadkephat letter what it is that they can take a dagesh lene. There are two kinds of dageshim. There's the so-called dagesh lene, or dagesh katon. That's the small dagesh. And there is the dagesh forte, or the dagesh gadol. That's the great dagesh, or the strong dagesh. Now, the dagesh lene and the dagesh forte look exactly the same, but they function differently in the Begadkephat letters. Any other letter that takes a dagesh, let's say a mem, it has to be a dagesh forte or dagesh gadol. It cannot be a dagesh lene because only the Begadkephat letters can take dagesh lene. Every other letter that has a dagesh, let's say in a shin, it has to be a dagesh forte. What's the difference between a dagesh forte and a dagesh lene? Well, they look exactly the same, but a dagesh forte means there's actually two beits represented, and the Masoretes very efficiently simply put a dagesh within the beit to mean that it's doubled. However, in the case of the Begadkephat letters, when there's a dagesh, it could be a dagesh forte, or it could be a dagesh lene. And in the case of a dagesh lene, that simply means it has a different pronunciation, so that a beit without a dagesh sounds like the, like violin, whereas a beit with a dagesh sounds like b, as in boy. Now, in ancient pronunciation, all six of the Begadkephat letters had a different sound when they had a dagesh and when they didn't. However, using modern pronunciation, only three of the Begadkephat letters have a different sound when they have a dagesh, namely beit and kaf and pei. So that when you have a beit without a dagesh, v with b, a kaf without a dagesh, ch, as in bach, and with a dagesh, k, as in kite or kick. A pei without a dagesh, f, as in phone, with a dagesh, p, as in pie. The issue then is to be able to determine in each case when there's a dagesh in a Begadkephat letter, whether it's a dagesh lene or a dagesh forte. Now again, if there's a dagesh in a pei, it's going to have the p sound like pi, whether it's a dagesh lene or a dagesh forte. So phonetically, there's no difference. But there are some grammatical differences that we'll need to be able to tell the difference when it is a dagesh lene and a dagesh forte. So how does one know the difference? Well, if the Begadkephat letter with a dagesh is preceded by a vowel, that means it's a dagesh forte. If it's preceded by a consonant, then it's a dagesh lene. If we take the word diber. Here you'll notice that there is a dagesh lene in the dalet, signifying there's only one dalet. We know that because there's no vowel sound before diber, he spoke, so therefore it has to be a dagesh lene. However, the dagesh in the beit must be a dagesh forte because it comes directly after a vowel sound, di-ber. Because it comes after a vowel sound, it must be, in fact, a dagesh forte, signifying that there's actually two beits there. So if we were to transliterate this and break it apart, we would see that the word is made up of dib, ber, with two beits, diber. Now we don't have to sound it out like that, dib, ber. We would just sound it out, diber. But the important point to notice here is the difference between the dagesh lene and the dagesh forte. You'll need to keep this in mind. It's important not for pronunciation, but in terms of doing different kinds of grammatical things that we'll need to do.